get started. Get to your seats.
Ring, 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 ring.
Let's see, we have some announcements first.
Oh, hello everybody, welcome back. It's thrilling to be back. Two things. First of all, this BCCO would not be possible, I'm Julie by the way, would not be possible if it weren't for this special group of volunteers, and those are our section leaders. And some of these folks have been as a section leader for forever. And so in a minute, I'm going to ask you to stand so you can see who the section leader is in your section, and you can thank them later. Section leaders, when you stand, would you wave wildly? Because oddly, we can't see people in here. So section leaders, please stand. We are so grateful for everything you do. I am too, and this is the end until the break. We heard from you after last rehearsal that you had trouble hearing. And so our audio team has done some adjustments. Hopefully that will work. We're going to check back with you at break and with a show of hands ask, how did it work? Well, no, that's not what we do with a show of hands. Anyway. Christian will come back and talk to you about that. We're ready to go. Thank you.
Okay, great. So let's do a warm-up first, and then we'll start with the music. Everybody standing up first. Standing up, and then of course we want to have our minds and our bodies warmed up, so get your feet shoulder-width apart. And close your eyes and really sway side to side and feel the balance. Feel the centering not only of your body, but of your mind as well. And lean forward and back and really find where the weight is firmly in the middle. And that you can bounce up and down so that the balls of your feet, buoyancy, bend your knees a tiny bit, really feel them to be loose. And then let's twist at the waist a little bit. And really feel a loosening of the muscles that we use for singing apparatus or vocal apparatus. Roll your shoulders back. Loosen them up. As we talk about often, your shoulders have no connection to your rib cage whatsoever. They can weigh them down, but they can be lifted and they can be separate from your rib cage itself. So pull them back far, pull them front, roll them around, roll your neck around a little bit. Be very gentle though. And then take a nice deep breath in and down and relax. So the warm-up really has three functions, right? One is to get ourselves on the breath. Get our breath set. One is to create the space, and then for singing, which is very different physically than speaking. And the other one is to bring our sound into the right space. We as Americans speak in the back of our throats, and we want to focus to the harder parts of our head, like our cheekbones, to our hard palate, but not our soft palate or our tongue. We of course want to make our jaw to be open so that just like a megaphone, the sound is unimpeded and goes out. So the first of those three things, we want to make sure that we're seated on the breath. To do that, posture is an important thing, but we also want to make sure that we are breathing in the right place. And I've mentioned this before, but back in the days of the 19th century, there were actually different schools of how you breathe, and the French used to breathe like this, because the corsets were so tight that you couldn't breathe anywhere else. But nowadays, we do diaphragmatic breaths, so everything is down here. And even though your diaphragm is really up here and flattens out and whatnot, we visualize it by thinking about all the organs and stuff that need to be pushed out of the way so it can suck air into our lungs. So put your thumb in your belly button, let it rest down. And then take really nice, full and slow breaths in and out, trying to fill that space, the viscera that's there. And then breathing in and out at equal pace for now. And then the same things, this is dead blood, so everything, but take your thumbs and feel along your rib cage. And then at a certain point where the cartilage actually stops, and we have these ribs that are not connected to that cartilage. And so those are called the floating ribs, and they have the ability to actually expand a little bit more. And they're oftentimes one of the best ways we can visualize expanding to the side. If you have a visualization of breathing in to expand in the front, the floating ribs are one of the best areas to visualize for breathing to fill the side as well. And this entire image, 360 degrees all around. So breathe with your thumbs in that area and think about the very small expansion that you feel there. But again, we're not thinking about exhalation, inhalation. We're just really trying to think about fullness and release. And then finally, in the small of your back, in your waistband, there is an area small of your back which is naturally curved, and then when you expand, you can expand into that area and straighten it out a little bit. And if you put your hand back there, you can feel the expanse there as well. So all four sides, but really 360 degrees. What we're going to do is we're going to take a nice deep breath in, hold it for a few seconds, and then release it. So let's take a breath in, hold it, and then release. This time we're going to do the same thing, inhalation, hold it, but then release for twice as long. And you can do it on, here we go. And we're going to go, breathe in, hold it, and then long exhalation. And for singing, as you know, we want it to be completely even, not sort of tight release, and not sort of a whoosh, but sort of even, controlled, supported, like you're pressing on a balloon, but the whole, the neck of the balloon is preventing you from just, completely deflating. It has some buoyancy after. So we're going to do the same thing when you do a breath about this fast, hold it, and then out on ready? Here we go. And so go, really feel this engagement. And the key is that when you sing a note that's long, you don't just hit the first part of the note and then it stops. There's a continuous refreshment, continual engagement of that note. One more time. And hold, breathe in, hold, and then exhalation. Hold and exhale. So I like to do this to represent active support. It's a very different sound when you're supporting the sound versus just kind of letting it relax. Let's do a silent boom, and remember, super, super high, relaxed, airy. This is not about tone, this is about creating space. Remember, unlike instruments, I say this all the time too, but unlike instruments where you can see all your pinkies in the wrong place, or there's a little tightness on your finger, we can't see inside of us. So we oftentimes use physical gestures to sort of represent what we're trying to do. And when you create space, you're trying to lift that soft palate. That's kind of like a rug that's on the piano. And so you just want to lift it up so that it doesn't dampen the sound that we're trying to emanate from our throats. So when we do this, it's to represent the space and maintain that soft palate lifted away from the path of our vibrations. Ready? Oh, that's great! And you can't hear from where I am, but the volume was twice as loud. And you didn't do much more energy, you just didn't dampen the sound that was coming out. Let's do that one more time, and even higher, and even slower all the way down. But do go down. Let's warm up and sort of gently phonate our entire range. And oh, that's great. That's fantastic. We speak, if this is our whole range, we speak around here. And so we need to warm up all those places up here because we don't really speak it. Let's do D major. Just humming. And then we want to make sure that our nose is buzzing, even with the mask on. If you have a particularly buzzy sound, it'll create a nice sort of forward, slightly nasal sound, right? And up. Great. If I were to characterize my hands when you sang, I would say I would look like this. But we should keep it light, lifted, and with space. So, not. You hear the difference? So think about that same breath that we did for the sigh, and then just come into the hum very gently. My daughters and I went up to this dinner, and at the end, the treat was a cotton candy cloud. And I was about to say, just like, cotton candy, except they sort of tore into it like a velociraptor. So I was like, maybe that's not the best visualization. But in any case, like a cotton candy cloud before it arrives at the tail. Right? And can you keep it buoyant so it doesn't lose pitch as we go down? Versus right? Let's do where is it? E. Ready? And. Yeah, you can support it all the way last time. For the spacious, throaty speaking that we do during the day. Ready? And. Yeah, some of you sound like Cheshire cats. I can hear like a big spread vowel. So nivu, not nivu, nivu. Don't spread the vowel, don't widen your lips, make sure that they are like a trumpet, they are elongated and prolonged, right? And where? Ready? Much better tone. Now, with a nice breath, right? That's it. Oh, that's a singer's tone, right? And if the E is blindingly bright and the U is too dark and shadowy, what you did was you made sure that both vowels were sort of in the same resonance area, and so it's much more even tone. So let's do that for all the vowels. This is one of our normal exercises, D major. Mi, me, ma, mo, mu. So a few things. Make sure that there's no diphthongs whatsoever. So it's not me, me, ma, mo, right? No diphthongs, no double vowels. But also that the second vowel is a closed vowel. Me, me, not me, me. Okay, not M-E-H. Me, me, ma, mo, mu. Right? And do it again. Oh, I'm losing control. Right? And. Me, me, ma, mo. Good. That was really beautiful vowels. And you didn't do this, but I want to warn you against going me, me, ma, mo, mu. Right? Mu. As you drop in pitch, you have to support more so that the pitch doesn't get flat. Okay? One more time, you can do. Ready? And. Me, me, ma, Let's do a sigh and U together. One more, even more indulgent and even higher, even more relaxed. Remember that sighs are more about relaxation and at the same time engagement, which is the opposite of relaxation, but you need to create the space that's ahead of you. Right? Remember that especially, well, not all times, but especially at the beginnings of rehearsal processes, you want to make sure that you have your pencil out so that you can write down the markings that we have. So there's not as much repetition going back. We're not going to be doing each movement that we learn every single week. So when we have spaces or we look at certain movements, we want to make sure that we maintain the markings and musical notes that we've had from previous weeks. Okay? So, these cues can be very comfy. And so make sure that you're sitting up. You're basically what they used to say, standing from the waist up, even if you're seated. And then as I've done before, you want to make sure that you're not straight up and down, but that you're leaning slightly forward. And if you're new to us and haven't done this exercise, it might be good to do at the beginning of the year anyway. If you're standing straight up, that's one thing. If you lean back 2 inches with your head, and then look at poke your stomach, poke your core, you can feel those muscles are engaged. right? Those are the exact muscles that you need to have loose to be able to breathe when you need to. And then if you lean forward just 2 inches from center, you can actually relax that area because it's not needed to hold up your body. And so if anything, if you're straight or you're leaning slightly forward, that's much better than oftentimes slouching or leaning back, right? All right, let's do from the very beginning to see what we remember, okay? second half of that sort of music. That's great. Let's work backwards. Why don't we? Starting from this page 10 that you have. If you have bar numbers, we start at bar 86. This is the last little cletta at the very end. Now, obviously sopranos, you have a very much melodic line. Everybody is accompanying you. So not only do you need to be louder, but everybody else should be a little bit softer. Can we just hear from bar 86? Everybody. Right? 3 and 1. If you are individually singing, if you can't hear the sopranos, maybe you might be a little bit loud. Let's do the same thing. 86 one more time. Okay? Your function in your line is important to know what you're doing and who is predominant line and what your function is within the texture. Let's try one more time. About 86. Ready and up. 1. Yeah. Now it's almost the exact same volume. So if we can't hear the sopranos that didn't work before, everybody else softer, maybe sopranos should sing a little bit louder, right? So we just said that you shouldn't be singing the same dynamic as everybody else. So in your music, you should write in mezzo piano or plus or something that says louder, or I have the melody, or I am a soprano, right? Or 86. Sopranos alone, right? And 1. Yeah, it sounds very wistful, a little ghostly, and then as a result, it's a little bit it's arrhythmic. Ta da da dum pum pum. Yeah. You should not breathe at all. Never breathe. So there's ensemble breaths or whatnot, but there is no ensemble breath on this. You just take a breath where you need to, right? Sopranos alone, ready? And 1. G. Key. Can you make that even? Right now we're getting sort of like we're on ice skates for the first time and it feels a little scary. Not in the right way. Ready and 1. Yeah, can you just try this? Do the D. Ready? Just that 1 and 2 and. Yeah, no, but it's only one vowel. Not right? It's only one vowel and then changes to another vowel. Don't be very clear about what you're trying to do. Ready? Just that there be 1 and 2. Yeah, better? Now, do you remember in warm-up we said we didn't want a spread vowel? We wanted that A vowel to be closed, not open, not le-son, le-son. It's very different than le-son. My mouth is big in one end, but this is a closed vowel. Le-son, L-A-Y, right? Not le, not L-E-H, right? Le-son. 1 and 2. Yeah, that's much better in terms of tone. Again, you have to be the one to take responsibility for your voice in singing. Don't latch on to the people around you. Just sing ta 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 ta. And if we all do that together at the same time, instead of waiting for each other, it's not going to sound like 50 voices not quite lining up and sort of fuzzy because of that. It's just going to be articulate, right? 1 and 2. Much better, right? Let's try again. 1 and 2. Yeah, now, there's a lot of transition between the vowel of le and zon. Le, he, zon, le, he, zon. Can you be quicker now? Switch really quickly. 1 and 2. Yeah, that's great. Now, from the first line, 86. Really, really have clarity of pitch rhythm. Ready, and 1. Better? From each one of them? And 3, and. Yeah, my turn. Now, likewise, I said everybody else should sing quieter. So when you write into your part, you need to sing quieter. There's multiple ways to do that. You can write that as pianissimo. So you have writing pianissimo to your line. You can write quiet dummy. You can write in whatever you want, but you need to write in something that says, listen to the sopranos. My chords are accompanying the soprano line. Now, basses, bar 89, that key, that K of the Kyrie can come out a little bit. And then altos and tenors, you should make sure you have a tiny breath before 89 Kyrie. So we have that clear entrance right there too. Okay? Everybody now, 86. Everybody now, 86. 3 and 1. Better? Bases. Tenors, alto. Sopranos. Basses. Yeah, good. Now 91 to the end, those notes are not all equal, right? 91 to the end, those notes are not all equal. For instance, obviously, the very last note that you sing is longer than all the other ones. But even though they're not marked differently, this is music that is obviously dying away as the end of movement goes. So you need to match that sort of energy, where we have a poco diminuendo over the last 3 bars, right? Technically the last 4 bars. And so you want to make sure that we, like the orchestra, start to fade off into distance, okay? Now, sopranos, when you have your A's on 89 and 90, it's okay to get a little bit louder, just a tiny bit louder. As everybody gets a little bit more present, we want to make sure that that is still the melody. Altos and tenors, let's give you bar 89, right? Yeah. Don't sing it down beat, put it in the second beat. Ready, and 1. Yeah. Make sure the D is not too flat, okay? Make sure the D is not too flat. Doesn't make a difference if the dynamic is piano or pianissimo, the consonant needs to be present. So the consonant, if you're singing a consonant that's pianissimo, and we can't hear it, then the consonant is non-existent. So it needs to feel like you're singing a mezzo forte consonant, but that the body of the pitch is soft, okay? So consonants always need to cut through. Bar 89 one more time. And tenors on this. Better. I heard tenors. And it didn't sound like an aggressive K. It didn't sound like key. It just sounded like key. You could hear it, right? Altos alone. Ready? And 1. Yeah, that was great. Now, I always feel like you're singing in R. I hear here, right? Isn't that a liquor? Here, right? Here. It almost like you're saying like kefir, right? Key, altos and tenors, one more time. Now, purity of vowel. Key, right? And 1. Yeah. So when you do an open vowel, that's why it's flat. You have to close the vowel a little bit more, and so you don't fall back in the mandolin throat. That's why it sounds flat. It's because also when it goes that was a C. You hear that sound, something gets spread and sort of shouty. You have to make sure that you always have height, okay? Basses, join us, bar 89. Basses are going to sing the downbeat, but then the altos and tenors sing the second beat, right? Right? Oh, cool chord. Finish chord. Ready? Ready? Part of the sun switch. And 1. Oh, basses, where's the K? No, yes, ready? And. Sopranos, let's join us all in. This is bar 86. Bar 86, everybody. So in your part, you should have altos, tenors, basses, singing pianissimo, mezzo-soprano for the sopranos. Nice accent on the key in bar 89, right? Accent basses and altos and tenors, right? And then you have a diminuendo in bar 91. Your part should be marked up significantly, right? 86. 3 and 1. So 91, I want you to put a tenuto on those 4 eighth notes, but those are still only 8 notes. So if you want, some people like to circle the rest, because so many of you are singing flat out chord notes for every single one of those. Okay? They have very different markings that he wrote. Very, very different markings. Okay, can we do that 91 to the end? 91. Right? And. Awesome. And. Awesome. Awesome. And long. Yeah. So do you see the difference, right? They're leaf, 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 leaf is falling on the ground. Right? Let's do one more time. 86. I can't hear the sopranos. I only hear the notes that you move on. I think you can just sustain the notes in between much longer. That's where we feel like we lose your voice. Okay? Remember, you can breathe every other bar if you want, or every other note if you want, but you cannot collectively breathe together. That's why we're sort of losing a lot of you, because we don't hear you sustaining. Sostenu, right? Ready, bar 86, and 1. Ah! They did such a great job, and then you guys were like, great, we're gonna sing louder! Ready, and 1. Much better. And get ready, bases. Bases. All the seconds. See that? He goes ta ti ta da ti da di da ti di and what you do when you're singing right now is this. Right? Can you match the sort of easing? Okay? Right? Let's do 91. Right? Mezzo forte, mezzo piano, piano pianissimo, whatever. And. No. Yeah. This song? It's an A natural, right? Right? One more time, 91. And no. That's it. That's it. Yeah. You know the term voce coupa? Voce coupa is like a covered tone. And it's like you're going to a softer covered tone. Okay? Last time, 86. Wow, I spent a long time on this page. And 1. Front. This is still this is literally the last iteration on those. Sustain. You know how Paul gets all these colors? That's great. Okay, let's work backwards a little bit, then we're going to look a little bit of the fugue. Let's do this middle section. No, let's do the beginning song. Okay. Bar 6. I want you to write an R with a circle and then cross it out. What we're going to try to do is not get key, re, a, lay, right? Key, a, lay. It's the same vowel every single time we sing it. Key, a, as a professor of mine used to say, live in the house of E. Key, a, lay. Your jaw doesn't even have to move at all, right? Right, let's do sopranos, altos, tenors, basses. Everybody now, 6, right? And most elegant American R out there. Can you really flip the R and make it as short as possible, okay? Now, what we're looking for is more of a K. You still have to put an accent on the half note. Bar 9, don't sing the W, and 1 and 2. Yeah, but that was great, but you boosted. You went, just, it needs to sound like this, right? Right now, hear this. Right? And 1 and 2. Crescendo! This is intensity, remember? Mozart was a little bit of a show person. He's kind of like, no, I'm going to make you listen to this mass. It's going to be terrifying. And my new wife is going to sing the most glorious aria in the entire world in the middle of a mass, which doesn't make sense, but that's okay, right? You need to like have some sense of drama here. It sounds so casual, right? Alto's on 1 and 2. It's the sustain. I want you to feel like when we're singers, we oftentimes feel like in order to get that feeling of sustaining, it feels like you're making a crescendo. It doesn't feel like you're maintaining, because that actually sounds like you're getting softer. It feels like you're getting a crescendo. You need to really feel like you have that engagement and that you're actively going to the next note. That's what's missing, because it doesn't feel like there's bite to it. It feels like a really, really wet noodle. And it should feel like a spear, right? Right? And 1 and 2. That's so much better. And keep it, crescendo, 2, and breath. And then let it blossom. Oh, that is a completely different tone. That is a completely different tone. Again, it doesn't feel like I'm trying to hold up something with a whole bunch of like silk. It doesn't have any body to it. It's so much more sustained. It's so much more sustained. Can we do the sopranos and altos getting into that bar 9? Bar 9. Ready? 1 and don't be outdone by the altos. Sustain. Hold on your crescendo. And breath. And then you're going to change. And open up to your space. And that's it. That's so nice. That's it. And we'll, yeah. That's excellent. That's fantastic. That's really, really fantastic. Everything you did before that was great. What you just sang was also really beautiful, but we want to get a variety of texture, especially when it gets more contrapuntal, which Mozart loves to do. So for those sections, like I said, that's almost the right pitch for a second. You know this guy Messiaen? It's really funny. He has this one piece where he recorded like a billion bird calls, right? He put it all into this one piece. But he just went out there with like this huge microphone, and the technology was so integrated back then that his wife was carrying around the body of the thing, and the thing was like this machine this big to record. And so there's just two of them in like safari hats, just kind of like wandering around and pointing it. Yeah. Anyways, ambient noises. Okay. So this is bar 16. Bar 16. So separate bows are ta 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 ta. Not a sustained. Not a sustained. I would put a little caret accent, exclamation point, whatever you want to call it, on top of this. Can we just hear the sopranos there? Bar 16. Ready, and 1. Yeah, what's up? Right? A little bit more space. Ready, and 1. It wasn't even a hint that we're going to die away from that note. Why would you die away from that note? Okay, altos, last thing I want to hear is bar 19. Bar 19. And 1. Yeah, this needs to be a rhythmic motive rather than a melodic one. Kyrie, right? And 1. Yeah, remember it's Kyrie, not Kyrie, right? Don't go to the last note, make the first note a little more. So take your pencil, put a little accent on the first note. Kyrie, Kyrie, do, right? And Kyrie, the first one, and 1. And yeah, I still don't hear the K. I don't hear the I need a more aspirated K. You need to hear it, otherwise it sounds like a G, right? Last time. And 1. Yeah. Now, around you, if isolated, that might sound exaggerated. But the thing is that all the other voice parts are singing, right? And so it needs to cut through that. And so it needs to be stronger than you would when you're doing it individually, because everybody else is singing. Basses and tenors, starting from bar 18. 18. Ready, and. Making each of those separate, right? Now, you have to remember that during this time, especially when there's only 3 words in this entire movement, right? Kyrie, it lays on, pretty steady, it lays on, right? There's only 3 words in the entire thing. It's all about the form, it's all about the notes. It could have been completely instrumental, and the structure is still there. And so you have to be aware of it. So when you have to ta, 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 it's not ta, because everything will sound exactly the same. There's layers to what notes are supposed to be important, what things are subjects, what things are counter subjects, how everything is put together. So you really have to have a little bit more awareness of texture. So sonoro versus something that's spoken more often, okay? Bar, what is it? Bar, let's just do the same place. Bar 18. Be very firm. Be stern. Ready, 3 and 4. Nice bases. And separate. And everybody now, starting from bar 18. Bar 18, everybody, including the sopranos and altos. Ready? 3, and. Sopranos and altos, let's do bar 24. Bar 24. Now, this is form, not words. You can take a breath after each quarter note. Right? Let's do bar 24. But we do want to hear the K's, right? Now, ki-hee-dee-hee. Now, ki-hee-dee-hee. Don't yodel, right? 24, and soprano altos. Yeah, I still hear it a little bit. Completely different thing. I can't even get it anymore. Oh man. I used to be able to get like almost an octave above that. Okay, that's crazy. Okay, let's see 24. Now remember, dee-dee-dee-dee is separate than dee-dee-dee-dee. Don't go dee-dee-dee-dee. 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 Flip. Dee-dee-dee-dee. Head voice. Dee-dee-dee-dee. Float. Right? Bar 24 and 1. That's it. Yeah. And then unlike me, every single one of those were like in 2, right? And it felt like it was free. Now, do you see that? It's much more about technique than it is about trying to make some sort of word into it. We're just trying to get the articulations of the notes in the right place, okay? Everybody, one more time, bar 18. And then we're going to switch the fuse. Hey, basses, get your energy in here, and at bar 24, listen to Paul play, right? There's something a little bit forward about this. There's something a little bit in your face about this. Something a little bit more insistent. Bar 24 is Paul only, and And so can we have a difference in tone? I mean, like, I would put dolente as part 27, I would do dolce, whatever you want, but the tone needs to be very, very different, matching the accompaniment and the texture that Mozart wrote. Let's do bar 24, bar 24. Ready? 3 and 4. Take a breath, that's going to be your color. Yeah, and then you can see how much color we can get into it. We don't just bash through the notes and just say this entire thing is intense. It's like this complete variety of different colors there. Just before, let's do a little bit of one of the fugues. Let's do page 53, or if you have different scores, Cum Sanctus Spiritu. Cum Sanctus Spiritu.
Page 53.
Page 53, if you have this book, if you have the grammar, or this version of the grammar, apparently I think there are two. It's 47 in the other book. 47 in the other book. Okay? Now, the same thing that I was mentioning before is super apparent in this. You have to oftentimes, especially in the classical era when things were a lot about form and structure, sometimes the words were not necessarily as important as the form. It's almost like you're an instrument, like a baroque sort of, especially fugues. It's more articulations and style like your instrument. And so there's certain rules that I want to get into this. So let's read this a little bit. If you don't want to do it on text, which it's up to you, let's just read through it a little bit and see what happens. But you can sing it on do, you can sing it on text, you can do whatever. Let's see what happens. Let's see. But not too fast, right? Ready? Basses. 1 and 2. Tenors. And bass. you have to get all these pieces of metal together. There's this prize that's actually still going on today. It's a King of Rome. It's a Rome prize. And one of the big things is you have to write a fugue. And when fugues were very much out of fashion, people kind of case against writing them. But you had to do that. Bernstein said Beethoven spent his entire life trying to write one good fugue, which is kind of a mean thing to say about Beethoven. But Mozart, he just kind of did this effortlessly. And again, fugues were not in style during that time period, right? But again, Costanza was like, you write the greatest fugues, you should just throw in a fugue for this mass. And he threw in a fugue. So when we go through this, the key is obviously knowing when you have the main theme, right, and how we sing that, but also when we have counter themes and how we're going to be singing them. So everybody's singing the bass line because it's the same thing and everything. We're going to make sure that this is sustained, you write sostenuto, and then anytime you have this melody, you can sing it louder than the section before. Basses, I have you starting at mezzo forte. Write in mezzo forte, and let's just see what happens, right? Everybody sing the first melody, right? Cum santo spiritu, right? Right, two. This is such a good solfege exercise, so you should try this sometime, right? And up. Yeah. So the texts are all over the different. Who, not who. Who is one clear vowel. Now, ku, sa, to, spiritu, not spiritu, right? Spiritu. Now, you need to be the most firm because you have whole notes of your tempo. Because if there's any sort of hesitancy of what the tempo is, then all the moving parts are much faster and have many more notes and won't fit in together. Let's try this out, right? Take your march. Ready? One, and. Yeah. Now, santo. There's a danger for that to be a diphthong. No, it's ku, sa, to. Okay? To, spiritu. Pure vowel. One more time. Ready? 1, 2, and up. Yeah. Now here. Spiritu. Spiritu. Not spiritu. Spiritu. Right? And so spiritu. Don't put the glide in. Ready? And up. No. Si, fa, mi, spiritu, right? 2, and up. Spiritu. Yeah. True is also a diphthong. Try not to do that. Spiritu, spiritu, right? See, this is harder than you think. Ready? 2, and up. Spiritu. Much better. That's so much more clean. Okay? Let's try that again. Everybody from the beginning. Ku, sa, right? And Centaurian. This is very firm and declarative, right? And up. Yeah, so much better vowels, so much better vowels. I heard some fantastic sopranos and tenors sing sa, to, spiritu. We need more of that. That's great. Now, in opposition to that, basses. This is very light, sprightly, dance-like, something, right? Let's do everybody. Let's just try the bass line there. Read it in your respective octave. But this is right after you sing. Right? Separate and light, almost like they have staccato, right? This is for, 14. Right? 1 and 2 and a 1. And notes are like pickups to the downbeat, so you put the tiny crescendo. In la ha 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 ha. And then the same thing, for Baroque articulation, you oftentimes cut the tie before you sing the next note. So listen to this again. In la ha 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 ha. Did you hear that? On the downbeat of bar 16, you're not going to sing that, you're going to take a breath. Let's try that all together. Bar 14, right? 1, 2, and 1. It's sort of very joyous, okay? Joyous. Can we try again? Everybody sings from the beginning, bar 7 through the subject and the counter subject, right? Cool song, right? 2 and up. Pure vowels. And love, sleep, and no 1. Messiah or whatnot. Now, every single time you sing the sostenuto, main subject, mezzo forte, sostenuto, every single time you sing something else, it needs to be quieter. Okay, so write down mezzo piano basses and lighter with the staccatos or whatever you want to write. So we can start from the very beginning. Everybody's singing their respective parts. And let's do the exposition of the fugue in 9 minutes, okay? Exposition for fugues are the easiest things in the world because it's just after everybody's sung the subject. Ready? 1 and 2. Basses. And section here. It'll just be an easy designation for us to start. So bar 35 is the start of the next section, and of the section beforehand. Okay? Now, tenors, your line at bar 78 to 19, bar 19 came right in the middle of the bar. So, right? So on the second quarter note, on E and law, you immediately change to that staccato sound. That's mezzo piano. Can you write that in bar 17, 18, 19? Bar 19. Spirito in la. You see all that? No. So all that dancing light, eighth notes, chord notes, all of a sudden that's mezzo piano, light staccato, right? Basics still have that. Altos, where do you change? Bar 26. Yeah, I heard that. I heard some of those numbers. So, fa, spiritu, la, and it's not almost exactly the same thing that the bass said, right? So immediately on the second note, of bar 26, you change texture, you change dynamic, you change the whole function of your line at that point. Okay? So I put a big cut breath there. big dynamic change, sopranos. For you, where do you change? 31. 31, the same thing. It's the second chord note at that point, right? And then everybody sometimes has more dancing notes all the way until the bass is coming at the beginning of our first or second episode, part 35. Okay? Let's read through it one more time, and then we're going to take a break, and then maybe do some scooter. From bar 7. Right? And down. Oh, sorry, same bar together. Like cool means with, right? So cool. Let's sing together with each other, right? And down. Nice. For fugues like this, when we studied the Dvorak Requiem, there's one monster fugue, like a huge fugue that's many minutes long. And when we first started looking at it, we were just like, oh my gosh, this is a really long fugue. When we started taking it apart and how every single section had different colors, different themes, different ways that it was constructed together, all of a sudden it felt like it was telling the whole story. And Mozart's kind of showing off with his compositional abilities here because he plays around with how that subject gets layered over. It's not just one and then the next and the next, but it gets layered on top of each other, and then all four of them at the same time. And it becomes really brilliant in a theoretical type of way. So I believe Christian is back! Welcome back, Christian. Might have some announcements, and then we'll take a break. So don't move!
Yes.
And then this whole thing.
Now it works. Hello there. This is terrific. Such a full room. Woo! So we do have a few announcements. Some of these were course notes and some are new. One is 2 nights from now is the first opportunity to work with Alessia in a rehearsal that she's leading. I understand she led warm-ups last week, and a lot of people enjoyed that. So if you'd like more from Alessia about shaping your sound, producing sound, this Wednesday evening at 7 at North Grade Church, we have an hour and a half with Alessia on vocal techniques. I encourage as many of you to come as you come. Then on Sunday, our second section of the season with tenors and basses. We had 11 sopranos and altos this past Sunday, yesterday, with Paul. It was great. And that was a chance for tenors and basses, as many as would like to come on the 25th at Arlington Community Church up on the hill. Now I have a need for a show of hands. If you've been a chorus member for some time, you'll remember we once had all-day rehearsals. We'd like to do that again this fall. And the date that fits best with our sectional calendar and Ming's availability also happens to be the Saturday after Thanksgiving. Our venue is also available then, our preferred venue. So the question is, for show of hands, how many of you would not be able to come because it's the Thanksgiving weekend if we had the all-day then? That's a pretty good number. Looks like about, that's the 26th to 6th of November. So, okay, we'll take that into our account. I see Sam has a hand up too. Okay. We'll see. Next, if you'd like a pre-printed name tag, next week. There's a sign-up sheet on the back table. Just write your name on the sheet in the break room, and we'll have some for you next week if you'd like something more formal than the stick-ums that only last a week or two. We'll get you ones that are printed and have a sleeve. This doesn't have a lot of sound, does it? You can hear me? Okay. Ladies, you'll be happy to know that the second restroom has been open for the break. Thanks to David and Julie for motivating that. But the janitor has opened the double doors, so if you go down the hallway and around the corner to the right, there's a second restroom that will be open at the break. What's the feedback like? Did people notice better sound, better ability to hear me this week than last week? Okay. Anybody feel that it was worse? Okay, so you can thank David Flack and his sound crew for working and for me, for enunciating, I guess. Are you enunciating? Okay. Next week, we've had some volunteers to help with setting up chairs and opening and closing windows. As it happens, there was a group in here this afternoon, so the window crew had nothing to do. But next week, if you'd like to volunteer to either set up chairs, put away chairs, open windows or close windows, there's a sign-up sheet on the back tables for that as well. 2 more announcements. The Mozart. It's very confusing what's going on with the different editions. We think maybe our publisher sent us a mixed set. So I have a little experiment. If you have a Mozart copy in front of you, you open the cover and you look at the first printed page inside. There's a copyright at the bottom, a small hard-to-read date. How many of you, by show of hands, have something that says 2019 for the copyright? And you've got hard paper copies in your hands, is that right?
It says 17 printing, 2019.
Yep. So this ur text to me meant original and ur, and it's the rock, it's the foundation. Well, it changed. What we sang from was the ur text published in 1987. In 2019, they made another edition, and we seem to have gotten a mixed batch. So now that I know that, we'll try and figure out how to work with that. But I wasn't sure whether it was just the... never mind, you don't want the whole story. We're working on it. Last announcement. We had some reports that chorus notes that arrived this week that had a bunch of attachments, pictures of Marianne Bruin, pictures of our sectional schedule. Did anybody have the experience that when you looked at that email, all of them were attachments as opposed to things that you could actually see? Did anybody experience something different than usual? I see some hands. All right. Yeah. All right. So we'll do some experiments and figure out what changed and fix it. That's it for announcements. Break time. Okay, hey everybody, let's get back to our seats. We'll get going again. Sir?
in this piece, which is going to be a little bit different than the Mozart. One of the important things here is that Kyrie is not going to be with an E sound, but with an U sound. So like U with an umlaut, or coo, like you would coo to a baby, or how someone with a really thick Scottish accent would say the word cow. So whether you write two O's, or write U with an umlaut, or draw a tiny cow in your music to remember that it's Kyrie in this piece, go ahead and mark that into your score for me. And we will go ahead and we'll start from the beginning, and we'll just read through a bit of this and see what we remember from last week. I'll have you play the piano part today. sluggish. Like the rhythm is becoming a little bit sloppy. So even though it is lyrical, we still need to have this 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. So if you can, somewhere in your body, just be tapping that 1 and 2, those 8 notes, 1 and 2 and 3. We're going to sing from the beginning again, and I want to make sure that you're physically feeling that pulse so that we're all moving together and it's not falling a little bit behind. Once more from the beginning, please. Backing up slightly to measure 8, I'd like for everyone to take a breath after the downbeat of measure 8. So we get space between the end of that phrase and this kind of new, surprising thing that's happening. Again, we have this kind of unexpected harmony here. So a breath between the downbeat and beat 2, and then there just needs to be a little bit more buoyancy at measure 8. Yes?
You're going too fast. I can't follow you.
Oh,
sorry.
Please put a breath mark after the downbeat at measure 8. And then in the second half of measure 8, when we go back to Kyrie, the dotted rhythm, if you remember last week with Alicia, we were kind of doing this nice little thing where we were creating this little bounce. We want to have that same feeling in this phrase. So let's go, please, from measure 5. Measure 5. Against the altos and tenors, so you have kind of your own entrance you can bring it out a little more and just have a little bit more support to that those higher pitches. Once more at that same spot, please. Measure 46. 46. Last week. I would like to back up and do a little bit more of the middle section. Can we start from measure 54? There's a little bit clearer articulation on the dotted rhythm in measure 54. Everyone? Give it a little bit more on the consonant at the downbeat of measure 55. 54 once again. The phrasing through 55 through measure 60 was really lovely. Nice diminuendo. Go ahead and mark that in. We will do that diminuendo through from 54 kind of to the end of that phrase there. And then at measure 60, just a little bit more from the a little bit more forte, so we get a nicer contrast in the forte piano. Measure 60. Yeah. So a little bit stronger entrance in the tenor bass and then come away more on the piano. Once again, measure 60. eleison. Kyrie eleison. Let's go from measure 72. 72. Reverting back into our Italian pronunciation, so make sure we have a nice Kyrie. I would like to hear just the tenors from measure 87, because you guys have a really lovely counter melody here, and I want to make sure that everyone hears that and knows how that goes, so we can be listening to make sure that we're not overshadowing the tenors here. So just tenors at measure 87. Measure 87. 87. One. Conversational back and forth in the coda as we close out this movement. So once more, sopranos and tenors. Into that, and you guys are just supporting this, right? You have the supporting harmony, so let's make sure that we can hear both sopranos and tenors within that. Everyone please from 87. One. Just 93 to the end of the phrase, and I want to hear a nice swell and then come back away at that last note. 93. One. Let's go on, please, to the Gloria. One thing to point out in the Gloria about the pronunciation, it will not be excelsis with a CH, but rather excelsis. So the C in the German Latin pronunciation is a TS sound. It's not the ch. So excelsis in this opening phrase here. Let's go from the beginning. still today. Ready? I would like to hear just a little bit more support in this forte sound. So we have big contrast to the last movement. Let's make sure that we have a nice healthy forte here at the beginning of the Gloria. Gloria in excelsis Deo. All that support and sustain all the way through to the end of the phrase there. So let's try right on the choir entrance at measure 3. Ready? That syllable there. In measure 10, 11, 12, lauda, I would like a lot of bass sound there. Your kind of contradiction to the soprano's rising line is really exciting, so lots of bass presence at that forte. Let's go from the choir entrance one more time. It was much better sound and sustainment here. From pick up to measure 20. 1 and 2 and 3. with a hard G as well. In measure 30, Rex Celestis. Another TS. Rex Celestis. Otherwise, that was much better in the second read through. Agimus is in measure 24, Magna is measure 26, and then Rex Celestis in measure 30. What was that? Rex, yeah, Rex, yes. Yes. Yeah, it will be all hard G's throughout. Correct. Yes. Let's go again from pick up to measure 20. We'll pick up the tempo just a little bit here. Pick up to measure 20. Same place you started before. 1, 2, 35. So potens, and then put a breath mark. And then if we can get all the way from Domine Filiu and then to Christe without breathing, that would be lovely. It will be much faster eventually, which will make it easier. And if you must breathe, just make sure it's not at the same time as the person next to you. So, let's go ahead from measure 28. I'll have you play the piano part this time, from 28. Ready? Just that last phrase from beat 3 of measure 35 to the end. Really, really rhythmic through this phrase. Ta, 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 ta. It keeps going kind of longer than you think it will, so we have to make sure that rhythm is really clear because that's what drives the phrase here. So from beat 3 of measure 35, 1, 2. Good. Those 8 notes, the 2 8 notes in measure 37, super, super important. So make sure those are very clear. Let's back up and take this section again. So pick up to measure 20. In measure 24, gratias. Make sure the entrance is clear. So even though that phrase is a little bit more lyrical, soprano, alto, tenor, when you enter on measure 24, make sure you breathe together and the entrance on the downbeat is all together and it still has rhythmic intent. So pick up to measure 20, please, bearing that in mind. 1, 2. but it also means that the entrances need to be more clear so they come through that texture. So once more that section, please, from pick up to measure 20. 1, 2. Continue on. Great. Let's go on from there. Measure 40, please. I will be in 2 here eventually. I'll still do it in 4 for now, but eventually this will go into 2. Let's go actually right on the alto tenor entrance. Right on the alto tenor entrance. Measure 41. Measure 41. Nice little dissonant second here. Ready? Okay, let's just do that again. I will cue basses and sopranos. I'm sorry, I ignored you. Yeah, so yes. So in the soprano line, the solo is the first 4 measures, and then the section joins in measure 44 on the downbeat. In the bass line, you also join in measure 44 at the downbeat. So it's solo until measure 44, and you enter on the downbeat. So you're kind of joining the soloist in the middle of the phrase there.
Yeah, it's not really quick. It doesn't seem right there. We can look at a lot. We look at the drill.
Yeah, you'll have stems, double stems there. Let's go once more, once again from measure 41. Okay. Ready? Yeah, so here again, at measure 46, soprano and alto lines switch back to the solo only. Or sorry, soprano and bass lines switch back to the solo only. Soprano and bass sections join again at the downbeat of measure 50. Downbeat of measure 50. Let's go right on that, measure 46. Measure 46. So 1 bar before the alto tenor entrance. Bass solo. Yep, and then that same phrase repeats again. So from measure 52, soprano and bass lines go back to solo. The section rejoins at the end of the phrase, measure 56. Soprano and basses come back in. Yeah. Let's do the whole section there from measure 40 and put all that together.
like Christian said, for sectionals or whatnot, they have, whoever leads them, whether it's Sam, Paul, or Alessia, they have also different foci. And so Alessia is going to be doing vocal technique, and of course we've been looking at the fugue with the Mozart. One thing I'll say about this room is that it is a little bit cavernous.
Yeah.
And so when I was walking around in the back or whatnot, some of the rhythms, ta, 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 sound like ta,